Hi, I'm Dustin Willen, and this is my video in support of my teaching philosophy. And I've chosen a technique out of the book Student Engagement Techniques by Elizabeth Barkley to develop my video around and to explain how my teaching philosophy applies to that technique. So as a corporate trainer, my most frequently taught classes are management development courses. Learners come to me from across the country to take my courses in order to prepare them for the next step in their careers. Each of those students comes to me with their own mix of experience, both with my organization and with others, as well as background, personality, and assumptions. Just like any instructor, I'm always faced with the challenge of delivering the same learning outcomes to a diverse group of people. So as many of us know, Malcolm Knowles suggested 4 principles of adult learning. One that I subscribe to is that adults need to be involved in the planning and evaluation of their instruction. The challenge I and many others face with this is how to balance the learner's need to be self-directed with my own and my organization's requirements to achieve specific learning objectives. This leads me to Barkley's tips and strategies for fostering motivation. I chose strategy 6, promote student autonomy. What I would like to do with the remainder of this video is to describe some of the things I currently do to promote autonomy in the classroom and to suggest how I will apply some of Barkley's specific advice. So here's what I currently do. Given the diverse backgrounds and set of challenges my learners face, I begin my 2-week management training program with a pre-call. Prior to the call, each learner is sent a pre-task assignment to list the 3 biggest challenges facing the location they are working in and the 3 biggest challenges to their own development into the next step of their career. The call then takes place between myself, the learner, and their direct supervisor. I facilitate a discussion in which those challenges are agreed upon between the learner and their supervisor. I then review the course agenda and have the learner identify lessons which will help them with the challenges they just agreed upon. During the course, the learners are working on goals that they will bring back to their supervisor and work to implement over the 90 days following the course. As we move through the course, the students are adding what they have learned to their goals until they have a solid list of strategies and techniques to help them achieve it. I use the SMART goal strategy. Goals must be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. While I assist the learners in ensuring their goals meet the SMART criteria and help them identify learning from the course which will help them achieve their goals, I do not direct in any way what the goals should be. They are entirely based on the challenges that the learners came up with prior to attending the course. Often they will share challenges with some of their peers, and I encourage them to work together to strategize and develop their goals. I often hear about discussions which take place around the dinner table each evening. Once the learners have developed their SMART goals and finished the course, I have them schedule a post-call with their immediate supervisor in the week following training. In that call, the learner presents their SMART goals to their supervisor and gains his or her approval of the goals. I take a coach approach in these calls, working hard not to dictate anything to either party. They must agree to the goals and commit to the work it will require to get them done. I then gain the learner's commitment to provide me with brief 30, 60, and 90-day follow-ups to keep me abreast of their project on achieving their goals. If they are running into unanticipated obstacles or losing focus on their goals, I offer the opportunity to schedule a follow-up call. So that's how I currently promote student autonomy in my management training classes. Here's a couple of tips from Barkley and how I will adapt them. This is what I will do. First is to acknowledge students' feelings when it is necessary to require them to do something they don't want to do. For me, the number one objective to an activity in my class is when I ask individuals to make a formal presentation to the class. Many of my participants have a fear of public speaking. I do acknowledge this and try to support these students more as they prepare for their presentations. But I believe a 5-minute discussion before the first presentation would help students feel more supported when they are forced to step outside of their comfort zones. The second tip from Barkley is to allow students' opinions in deciding how to implement classroom procedures. While I do lead a discussion on classroom procedures at the beginning of each class, it always ends with the standards that I set. I believe there is an opportunity to trust my students more and allow them freedom to set their own ground rules. Finally, is to avoid making students right, wrong, good, or bad based on their choices, but instead emphasize accountability. For me, there are a few areas of opportunity in this advice. One is around conduct outside of class. As my students come to me and are staying in the company's hometown with a company-provided hotel room and meals, there is an expectation that the conduct outside of the classroom reflects positively upon the company. I do not have the autonomy to change this expectation, nor would I. However, the way in which I discuss these expectations can change. The advice is to avoid having my learners feel judged prior to them having done anything right, wrong, good, or bad. The discussion at the beginning of the class and throughout can be more about accountability for the impact individuals' actions can have on the image of the company in the community, and less about the actions and whether they're good or bad. In summary, I feel I currently promote student autonomy in meaningful ways. By conducting pre-calls, identifying individual challenges, supporting learners in goal setting, conducting post-calls, and following up on goal progress, I'm empowering my learners to take ownership of the learning and do their best to find what they need from the learning. I do have opportunities to acknowledge students' feelings when it's necessary to require them to do something they don't want to do, to allow students options in deciding how to implement classroom procedures, and to avoid making students right, wrong, good, or bad based on their choices, but instead emphasize accountability. Thanks for watching, and here are my references from the video.